A very good evening, everyone present here today. My name is Zainab Idris, and I am narrator. I'm extremely pleased to welcome all of you to yet another session of the Author Saga. Today is going to be an extremely exciting one. So we are now live on Facebook, and we have individuals joining from a lot of different countries and areas. So let's begin. Let's start by having a quick introduction about Pick a Book. So what Pick a Book is we encourage the reading habit by getting all participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary, which helps to hone his or her public speaking, communication, and presentation skills. So by doing this, we not only inculcate the book reading habit, but also impart a wealth of knowledge. So currently, Pick a Book is actually in its presence in 4 countries, namely Sri Lanka, India, UK, and Singapore. And in just a span of 1 year, and we have over 600 plus readers, in 18 regions, and we have 30,000 people inspired. And Pick a Book is continuing to spread its wings across the whole globe. So recently, Pick a Book has actually begun a fantastic initiation called the Author Saga. So through these sessions, authors will be able to reach readers that they want to reach and individuals with like-minded interests as well. So authors can discuss key insights of their book and viewers will be able to take away from this. So we hope to help all authors around the world inspire fellow readers and aspiring authors as well on their journey. So these will be some very inspiring sessions with the authors to ensure that they gain a wider reach and also encourage individuals to further enhance their reading habit. So without any further ado, I'm extremely excited, pleased, and thrilled to welcome our author guest for the evening. So Ayesha Ratnayake. She currently resides in Sri Lanka. She is the author of the book Cheat Sheets for Life, over 750 hacks for health, happiness, and success. She has served as CEO of Ventures, a technology firm with development of an enterprise software product. She's also the co-founder of Sri Lanka's first presentation agency, Show and Tell. She's a chartered marketer with an MBA from the Postgraduate Institute of Management. So without any further ado, let's welcome Ayesha. Hi, Ayesha.
Hi,
how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
So we're so pleased to have you here, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
All right. So we're actually more than delighted you here and also discuss your book. So actually, let's just dive right into it. Begin actually by talking a little bit about your childhood. Were you always a reader and or a writer and author as well?
Yeah, I would say I've always been both a reader and a writer. Our house has always been filled with books, and you can see that even today. So, I mean, I read all the books that we all read as a kid, right? Enid Blyton, Francine Pascal, the classics like Charlotte Bronte and Jane Austen, Terry Pratchett, Dan Brown, of course, J.K. Rowling. So you
Yes.
name it, right?
I'm a Harry Potter fan right here.
Yeah, exactly. But I did also read a bit of nonfiction too. So my dad always had nonfiction lying around, and he always encouraged both me as well as my sister to read nonfiction and to pick it out at the bookstore. So
Yeah.
I would read about, self-help and philosophy, science, and I kind of fell in love with it because it was just so full of, practical insights that I could really use in my life. And on writing, I've always been a writer too. I've always journaled. I write poetry. I've been employed as a copywriter in my early adult life. And in school, I was that. I would say I was slightly above average in most classes, but in the English class, I was that kid whose essays are read to the class.
Okay.
So definitely reading and writing have been a huge part of my life, and that's something I'm really thankful for.
All right, amazing. Okay, so just a little bit about your book. So, Cheat Sheets for Life. What actually like kind of inspired it? What inspired it, and can you also tell us a bit about your book?
Sure. So I didn't actually kind of plan to write a book. It sort of
Okay.
happened kind of yeah. It kind of
As all
happened
the best
organically. Oh. So what happened really was that I was reading a lot of self-help and a lot of nonfiction, and I was thinking, I wish I had read this, 3 years ago or 4 years ago, because at that time, if I had read this, it would have been so useful in my life, right? And
Okay.
in that process, I kind of realized, there's so much information out there. We don't need to be reinventing the wheel. We don't need to be doing everything from scratch and making it up as we go along. Because, humans have been on this planet for like 300,000 years. So there's a lot of data out there about what works for us. So the problems that
Yeah.
you and I have are not unique. And
Exactly.
somewhere,
Yeah.
exactly, right? And someone somewhere has done scientific studies to figure out what is the best approach to take in a situation like this. So, but the problem really is that all of that information is spread across, maybe hundreds of books. So, what I wanted to do was to bring it all into one place and to create uh, like a kind of a handbook for life.
Okay.
But
Wow, interesting.
yeah, but at the same time, it was very important to me to keep it concise because, we're all busy people. I'm a busy person, so I know. And
Yeah, yeah.
so you see, like, although, it mentions, over 750 hacks for health, happiness, and success, it's not a fat book. It's not like a huge
Yeah,
volume.
yeah.
Yeah. And so that's by design because I've made a point to leave out, all of that fluff of, the
Okay.
long-winded research methodologies,
Yeah.
the, details about motivational stories and so on, and just cut to the chase and give you the meat, right? What is the next action that you can take to improve your life in these dimensions? So it covers 17 dimensions of life, everything from how to be happy and healthy to how to make money to how to live in a eco-conscious way. And like how I would describe it is I would call it a data-driven manual for life. And
Okay. Interesting way to put it. Very interesting.
so I genuinely believe like that this is something that should be given to, every newborn baby at the time of birth, Not because I wrote it, but because it's just a matter of yeah, making use of the available information that, scientists and researchers have gleaned, over the years. And I think we could all use like a helping hand in terms of, navigating this process of adulting of life.
Interesting because, as you said, there's so much information and evidence like spread over 100 different books, and what you've basically done is put it all in one book in such a concise way that's so easy to read as well. That's amazing. Okay, awesome. So actually, when I was doing a little bit of research, I actually read that the thought idea came to you when you were commuting. So can you just brief us a little bit about that? Because personally, I was interested as well as to what that was all about.
Sure. So that's actually an interesting story in itself. So I think, anyone who's listening who's from Batramulla would know this. Or I think everyone in Sri Lanka knows this, If you're
Traffic.
commuting from Batramulla, yes, the traffic
Yes.
is horrible, right? So I was one of the victims of that traffic situation where, I was stuck for 2 hours a day, almost every day in traffic. And yeah, so you can imagine how frustrating it would be. But actually, it turned into an opportunity because that meant I could spend like 10 hours a week listening to audiobooks. And as a result of that, I was able to complete more than 70 books within a year through
Oh, okay.
just because of these commutes, right? And I mean, this is something anyone can do. So while I was
That's true.
listening,
Yeah. Especially
yeah,
when I'm commuting and stuck in traffic.
yeah, make use of it, right? And so I would be commuting, listening to these books, and if I came across, something that I thought was practical or that I could use in my life, I would just pause it, just make a note in my phone, and over time, I accumulated a lot of notes. So, and I just at some point I started categorizing them and like just organizing them into the area of my life that they would benefit. And then eventually uh, I mean, initially I was doing this for myself, right? For my own benefit. But then after
Yeah.
some time, I realized that, this is something that is useful to everyone. And that was when I decided, I should publish a book.
Hmm. Amazing. Wow. Just something as simple as a 2-hour commute just led to this. I find that so amazing. So actually, let's move on. So my third question for you is, did you manage to conduct research for this book? Can you share a bit about your experience? Was it like a one-off research? Were you continuously doing research, or how did it work?
So my research process was essentially a lot of reading, a lot of listening, I should say, and a lot of note taking, and also referencing too, because I always make a point to note what's the original source of this data. So
Of course,
even
yeah.
in the book, there's a huge bibliography behind it. And so in the paperback, actually, I just put a QR code at the back, because if
Hmm.
otherwise it would take, another one third volume of the book, it would increase. So you can find it all, have it all on the site. But the process is essentially listening, reading, and taking notes. And that's something that's been ongoing. It's what I've been doing, even since the book has been published. I just keep doing it because it's something I enjoy doing. So right now
Okay.
it's like over 750 hacks. But I'm thinking, once it crosses 1,000, I might do the next edition.
Okay. So next edition, in the sense, will it be the same sort of concept, the hacks to life and health and stuff like that, or something completely different?
No, yeah, I might do something different as well. But like the second edition of this book would be, once I have accumulated that many, I don't know how long that would take.
Yeah, it's not a quick thing that you can do overnight. Yeah. All right. Okay. So let's move on. So your book, Cheat Sheets for Life, actually involves simple techniques such as weight loss and how to decide if you want to quit your job or not, and so much more. So actually, writing this book, did it change some of your or any of your perspectives that you thought were, you 100% sure of before you wrote the books? Did it change any different perspectives? Can you just share a bit about what in your journey while writing the book as well?
Oh yeah, so there was so much I found really surprising, when I was doing the reading and doing the research for the book. Like from simple things like, I thought coffee was not good for us, but it turns out that, having up to 3 cups of coffee a day, you live longer. Or
Oh,
something
wow.
like, yeah, it's surprising,
I
right?
actually know that. Amazing.
Yeah. But there's actually, like, just on a sidebar, you need to cut it off at a certain time of the day so that you can still sleep well. That's also in the book. There's a chapter on sleep.
Okay.
But like, there's also things like, the fact that cutting out social media can make you happier than an increased income. Or that the 70s can actually be the happiest time of your life. So typically we think our youth is, what we expect to be the happiest, but according to the survey data, that's not the case, and which is good because it means we have better things to look forward to. But what was really interesting though is, although there was so much surprising things, I would say the most surprising thing I came across was the idea that there was this study done which showed that people who are beyond the normal range in BMI, so that is people who would be considered slightly overweight,
Okay.
not a lot, but a little bit, they actually have a lower risk of death than people who are in the normal range or who are underweight. So,
Okay. Why is that?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
totally
Strange.
counterintuitive, right? But it's what the
Yeah.
data shows. And there could be many reasons. So, one reason could be that doctors might be paying more attention to people who are slightly overweight when they show symptoms. Or it could be that, having a little bit of, extra reserves in terms of fat reserves, if you fall ill and you lose weight, it could come in handy in your older age. So these things are like, so a lot of it is very unexpected and not what we hear a lot about in society, but it's what the data tells us.
Of course. Yeah.
I mean,
So
another
much
thing that
stuff
I found,
misconcepted. Like when you think about it, like you think something is bad for you in the sense it's actually not. Yeah, that's amazing. I've never actually even thought
exactly.
about it like that.
Yeah. So you don't have to feel like we don't have to feel off about our tummies, or they could be saving our lives.
So would you
But what's
say, it
also,
kind of changed perspectives?
hmm,
Yeah.
oh yeah, in so many dimensions, it did do that. But at the same time, there's also what's interesting is how much science validates all of those timeless things that our moms tell us. Like, how we need to get 8 hours of sleep, we need to
Yeah.
exercise, we need to be spending time with our friends and family and people who love us, we need to be working for meaning rather than for money. So all of those things are seriously validated by science in a big way. But uh, but what I find interesting is actually quantifying those, because we hear all the time about how we need to exercise. But what I'm curious about is what's the minimum amount of exercise I can do to still get the optimal result in terms of health and well-being, right?
Okay.
Or
Finding
like,
all those numbers there. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And like even things like having it quantified, I think changes the way we think about it. Like, we know that it's important to socialize, but when it's framed as feeling lonely can be as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day.
Okay.
That's when it really hits us, that by going out and spending time with our friends, we're not being self-indulgent, we're actually looking after our health, we're increasing our lifespan.
Never
So
thought of it that way. Wow. It's
yeah,
really interesting. Yeah.
exactly. So there's so many ways in which, like, even so we always talk about don't drink too much and so on, and you shouldn't, because alcohol does age you and so on. But in some
Yeah.
categories of individuals, people who drink actually live longer simply because they're more social. And being social is the number one predictor of longevity, of how long you live. So
Wow.
it's
Because I
very
guess those
interesting.
substances like alcohol or smoking would always kind of communicate it or relate it to something that's bad. But I guess in this way, you never know that it might even be doing you some good in a very different way, I guess.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of it is counterintuitive, but it makes sense when you really delve into the research and the science behind it.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess your journey started writing, and through your writing, it would have really, I guess, even just grow as a person, just personally as well, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yes.
Yes. Okay, so moving on to our final question. So, can we get a few words from you, about why you read personally and what small little pieces of advice that you can give to other aspiring authors, such as yourself, common traps that you might like to guide them through as well, just to help them out, because I'm sure there's a lot of aspiring authors viewing as well.
Sure. So in terms of why I read, I would say, I'm just very curious about the world, and especially about people, Like if I'm at visiting someone's house, I'm that nosy person who secretly wants to explore every room. or
There's
or if I'm
always a few
like
like that.
or if I'm interviewing someone, I might end up speaking to them for hours, because I'm just so interested in learning about their life and about their work,
Yeah.
and just finding out about them. But apart from that curiosity, there's also that practical dimension of, so many people have gone before us, so much research has been done. It just seems silly not to take advantage of it and not to make use of it in your own life, right? So, in terms of advice for aspiring authors, I would say, a lot of it boils down to motivation and productivity. So, I mean, just to share one thing, I mean, the book has like 80 different ideas in terms of motivation and productivity. I'll just share one that I think is very important, and that is making a habit of writing, but also making it very, very simple, very so easy to do that it's almost impossible not to do it. And what I mean by that is making it like just making your habit, do it for 5 minutes a day, right? For 5 minutes a day. Like even if it's just on your phone, you don't even have to open your laptop. And if you happen to write for 20 minutes, that extra 15 minutes is a bonus. But if you just wrote for 5 minutes, you can mark it off that you completed your habit. So the idea is to make it so small that it's almost impossible not to do. And in doing so, you really remove that initial inertia and kind of build your body into a routine that I'm like, I get up and I sit down every day and I write. And once you get into that pattern, writing for longer and longer periods of time becomes easier and easier. So,
Okay.
like,
I
just
I
start.
never thought of it that way of a routine, I guess. Would you say you have any specific timings that you find that you write best, stuff like that? I think a lot of authors have that in them, that they have a specific time, maybe after lunch or after dinner or something like
Right.
that too. Yeah.
So for me, it's pretty much the morning hours. I
Okay.
function, I think, better in the morning hours. I mean, I'm not a morning person, but like late morning,
Okay.
later morning. Definitely
Anything
not
morning,
after lunch.
like mornings, it's basically morning, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. But like if you want to write something, like everyone who wants to write something should just write, because never feel like your voice is not worth being heard, because the more diverse voices we have out there, the better it is for the world. And it's just a really gratifying feeling to have something that you've written out there. I would say this book is my baby, and it sounds kind of morbid, but like if I die tomorrow, it's okay because my book is out there now.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
because it's just the feeling that you put something of value into the world that will outlast you.
Of course,
And
yeah.
yeah,
That's
like
any reason. Yeah.
exactly. I think as creators never die, right?
Yeah.
So
Great. Great.
yeah. So I said this book is my baby. So my advice to any aspiring author is go forth and make babies. Book babies.
Maybe. That's really interesting. I'm gonna start using that phrase. That actually brings us to the end of our session. I see a few questions here on the screen. I see one on our YouTube channel from Adri, and she's asked, experienced any writer's block while you were writing your book?
Yeah. So yeah, absolutely. I think writer's block is a very natural part of the process. And the thing that we just have to do is just plow through. If you've allocated time to sit down and write, you just have to, put out a crappy first draft. You just write it, and later when you're in better flow, yeah,
Yeah.
so when you're flowing, you come back to it and you fix it up. But just keep that habit going and just write something. Like even if you're stuck, just put something out there. You need to get that funnel flowing before you get to the good stuff. Mhm.
Of course. Right. Okay. So we have one more actually from Fulail. He's asking that you mentioned that your book is small and concise is very important. So would you say it was the most important factor to make sure that it was a concise book for your readers?
Is it the most important? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about ranking the factors. I mean, I think accuracy is the number one most important factor. But
Okay.
absolutely making it concise is so important, because everybody's so busy, and we don't have time to read heaps and heaps of books unless you have a crazy long commute.
Okay. All right. So this was actually an extremely inspiring session. I'm definitely going to read this book, and I know all our viewers want to as well. So shortly we'll have the QR code and the link to the book up on the screen. So with that, actually, we have come to the end of our author saga session, part of Pick a Book. So once again, Pick a Book encourages the reading habit by getting all participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary of it. So this helps to hone his or her speaking, presentation, and communication skills. And by doing this, Pick a Book not only inculcates the habit of reading, but also helps to impart a wealth of knowledge. So if you want to be part of our Pick a Book community, or if you would like to see Pick a Book in your region and join the journey of consistently inspiring people, please reach out to us via the email provided on our screen within the next few moments. We are eagerly looking forward to hearing from you. So my name is, and I was the moderator for this evening. Thank you so much, Ayesha, for joining us. This was an amazing session. You actually inspired even me, because I know so much of the things, just that coffee thing itself, anything about that.
Yeah, I know. I've been blown away in the process.
Yeah. All right. Okay. Amazing. So we'll have the QR code out for anyone who wants to read this book. I, for one, I'm definitely going to grab a copy myself. So yeah, with that, we've come to the end of our session. Thank you so much, Ayesha, again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take
See you
care. Good night. Bye. Good night.
Bye.